This video is about the global viticulture and winemaking industry, and basically what we're going to be doing is to learn what makes up the winemaking industry. So hopefully by the end of the lesson you'll be able to explain what the winemaking industry is, and then how winemaking comes in, like a little brief history, how it became into existence, and then explain why viticulture is so important for Australia. And then we've got some really important keywords: wine, grapes, viticulture, winemaking, new world and old world. So this is what we're looking at in terms of the syllabus. We're going to be looking at viticulture and winemaking. You can see there's an extensive list, and then throughout the next few videos on this playlist, we're going to go through each of those dot points associated with viticulture and winemaking. So first of all, what is viticulture? Viticulture is basically the cultivation and harvesting of grapes, just the use of production of wine. So obviously cultivation is the growing, so making sure that they grow and produce lots of fruit each year. The harvesting is collecting the grapes. You can see that this picture in the bottom right hand corner, you can see that technology is used nowadays to pick grapes. That's sort of a tractor using technology to collect grapes. Viticulture is a serious job. You can also get a degree in viticulture, and I've got a little link there of what of a degree, and it's big business. So that's what viticulture is. It's the growing and harvesting of grapes. Then we've got what is winemaking. Well, it's a production of wine via the crushing and fermentation of grapes. The left-hand corner there, picture, you can see an old traditional piece of equipment used to crush grapes. Now it's all done by machines. It's mechanicalized. And then on the right hand side of this picture here, you can see some barrels, and that's where wine is kept and aged, and that changes the taste and texture of the wine. So why is wine so important? Well, we've got records saying that wine has been consumed by humans for around 5,000 years, and that dates back to ancient Egypt. Exactly when the first wine was made, we will never know. However, wild grapes have been known to grow between Spain to Central Asia, and it's believed that the first grapes were domesticated in the Middle East, obviously parts of Asia and Persia. It's commonly thought that wine is associated with human civilization and the emergence of urban societies, because what people used to do is obviously use wine as part of religious ceremonies, or to celebrate important times of the year, like wine, Easter, that time, Christmas and Easter. So that was really important. So it's important in some of the ancient traditional civilizations like Egypt, Greek and Rome. So really important, and it still is today. Some parts of Europe it's culturally very important, and you'll hear a term terroir, which is important in winemaking, particularly in France, where it's this unknown written rule of how to make wine, and it's more of an art form than science, which we started to see in New World wines, and we'll come into that a bit more detail. But terroir certainly to do with culture, so it's ingrained in people's lives. Now today wine is important still. One of the most expensive bottles of wine is the one shown here. It's sold for $15,400. Don't ask me why it's important. I'm not a wine connoisseur, but that bottle of wine alone, $15,000, is a huge amount. We've also got another bottle of wine that was sold for £75,000, which is about $139,000, and that was made in France again. And you can see there's a picture of it just there. It's the bit that looks a bit moldy. Yeah, believe it or not, that's $139,000. Very expensive. Now I've already told you about a couple of the terms: New World, Old World. Well, traditionally wine was made in France, Italy, Spain, Portugal and Germany. In Europe, they're the old wine producing countries. They have a lot of tradition and a lot of history making wine. The New World wine producing countries are places like Australia, the USA and Chile. They have come recently more and more powerful making wine, and they use a lot more technology to drive their wines, whereas those old world wines have used those traditional terroir methods. So why is the wine industry important to Australia? Well, it's a significant industry in Australia. It employs 30,000 Australians, and there are over 60 wine regions in Australia alone. And Australia sells their wine to over 100 countries worldwide, UK being one of the biggest sort of importers of Australian wine. Australia's the 4th biggest exporter of wines in the world, and Australia's the 7th largest producer of wines in the world. It's an incredible story, the Australian wine industry, and that's why it's so important. So that's just a little bit of background information about wine in general, and I've sort of started to explain the difference between old and new world wines, and then we've got why is it important in Australia. So the next few series of videos, we're gonna start looking at biological, ecological effects on the wine industry. So I hope that helps. All right, thanks. Bye.